You know what sound that is, folks. You bet. It's another noon whistle. Can you believe we missed a week? First week in like months, but it was July 4th. I'm Chris Trottier.
And I'm John Anzalone, and we welcome Travis Daugherty from Champions 101 today. Pleasure to have you, Travis.
Thanks a lot for having me, guys. Thrilled to be here.
Yeah, we're going to jump right in, right, Chris? We're just going to go to it?
Go to work.
All right. Well, Travis, why don't you tell us a little bit or tell the people a little bit about your background and how you came to develop Champions 101?
Yeah, well, my professional experience has been in a high school classroom and gym. You know, I spent 20 years as a high school English teacher. I spent 14 years as a head high school basketball coach here in the central Indiana area. That's kind of my home base. And to be honest with you, you know, I grew up the son of a coach, wanted to be a coach since I was a little kid, and really thought that I would probably be a coach for life. A few years ago, some circumstances changed and priorities rearranged in my life, and I felt like it was the right time to step away from coaching. And to be honest, really just was looking for an opportunity to use my experience in sports and coaching as an athlete and all that I was experiencing as a parent to just continue to support other people who are in that space too. And that's really where Champions 101 was born. We started Champions 101 2 years ago. We provide support and resources and materials for people who make up the athletic culture in high school environments around the country. And, last summer I had the opportunity to connect with John Handel, who has become a good friend and I think is a real, just an outstanding leader as the athletic director at Elkhorn. We partnered together last year and are getting ready to get rolling here on year 2. And so really, to be honest with you, just trying to do for John and the athletes and coaches and parents at Elkhorn what we're doing with people in those groups around the country to help provide some clarity on what this whole sports experience is all about, how each of those people can fulfill the role that they're in as effectively as possible, and to help people create a sports experience they can be proud of.
So, Travis, you're still a coach. You're still a coach. What you're doing is so important. What you bring to the athletes, the coaches, the parents through Champions 101 is pretty amazing. So could you tell us just a little bit about like Champions 101? We have Champions 101 in our district. Like, what does that mean for me as a parent, a coach, or a player? What do I have to do and what am I going to get?
Yeah, well, I think, the kind of the baseline premise of the guiding principle of the Champions 101 program is that champions aren't born, they're built. And, the idea of becoming a champion is, of course, very alluring to all of us because we all want to win. But I think at its core, it's important to understand that champions aren't who they are because they win. That actually, in fact, just the opposite is true. That champions win because of who they are. There are certain qualities and characteristics that champions possess that set them apart and make them unique and ultimately make them people worthy of winning in any area of life, including athletics. And
so is it safe to say that champions are more than just skills and drills?
Yeah, I think way more. I mean, any of us who've been involved in the sports experience have been around those athletes who have great physical ability or great sports specific skill, but just aren't equipped mentally and emotionally to reach their potential. And those can be really frustrating athletes for a coach to coach. They can be frustrating athletes for a parent to try to parent. And, that experience for an athlete themselves can be really difficult too, when they recognize that they aren't meeting their potential and that they don't feel like they have the tools in their toolbox to handle all that comes with this sports experience. So, ultimately that's what Champions 101 is designed to do, to help people recognize what becoming their best requires, what some of the difficult choices look like, and some of those important behaviors that we have to exhibit if we want to get the winning outcome that we're after.
So we're creating a program to build champions, and we know, as you talked about, there's key roles in it. Let's take them one by one, right? So let's talk about the key ingredients of being a champion. If you look at the ingredients of a student athlete, what would you say are, and we'll go right down the line. We'll go student athlete, coach, and then parent, right? Yep. So talk to me about a champion student athlete. What do they look like? What are the ingredients that you would promote and say, here's what we see at Champions 101?
Yeah, well, I think, to be honest with you, if, the three of us put our heads together and decided we were going to construct the perfect athlete.
Yep.
Of course, we would give them great size and strength and athletic ability. We'd make them big and fast and strong. We'd give them great sports specific skill. They'd be very good at throwing or kicking or running or tackling or whatever it is that success in their sport called for. But again, we would also make sure they were equipped with a number of kind of internal qualities and characteristics that help them reach their potential. So, for instance, some of the behaviors that we work on building athletes through our programming. What do champions do? That's really what we want to help our kids be able to do too. Champions love the game, right? They have a unique level of passion and commitment for the work that's required of them. Champions overcome adversity, right? They have the toughness it takes to handle all the struggles and challenges that come with any meaningful pursuit. Champions get better, right? They're committed to learning and growing and improving every day. Champions compete, right? They play with courage. They step in the arena and give their very best, regardless of the circumstances. Champions choose their attitude. They recognize that there's great power in their approach, and they've worked hard to cultivate a mindset that brings positive energy, not only to their own experience, but to the experience of everyone around them.
What do champion coaches look like? Because we know that, I think where Champions 101 is, as John brought up, it's not skills and drills, and it's probably definitely not about wins and losses. It's about building a culture of champions, right?
Yeah,
and those key ingredients. So what would a champion coach look like?
Yeah, well, to speak to that, to the winning and losing, I'm someone who thinks that winning and losing is really important. I think, that winning matters and that it should be an important part of our pursuit. I just don't think it should be the only part of our pursuit. That there's an incredible opportunity for us to use this experience to teach some of the important lessons and to build some of the important skills it takes, not just to win, but to become a winner. Those are two different concepts there. That someone can game and yet play like a loser. They can give less than their best effort. They can be a poor teammate. They can struggle through all those challenges and adversities that come up during the experience. At the same time, an athlete can lose a game and yet compete like a champion to the very best of their ability. So an important part of the work that we do is separating, the process from the outcome. That we want to be process-oriented people. We want to use whatever happens today, good, bad, or ugly, to learn and grow and get better for tomorrow. That's the best formula for putting ourselves in a position to win tomorrow.
And thank you for saying that, Travis, because I was just thinking as you were talking, like, there's so much about the process. Like, a win or a loss is an outcome, but without process, without mental training and looking through things differently or through different lenses and improving our mental capacity and abilities, it just doesn't happen. Like you said, like, you can be a winner that's really lost and someone that's lost that really won because of how you handle things or how you approach that process.
Yeah. And that's hard for people in any role. Chris, you asked about, the champion coach. I think that's an important characteristic of high-level coaches. If a coach is only committed to the outcome, like the success and failure of their experience in coaching is totally tied to the score on the scoreboard, their season win-loss record, or whether or not they got to hold a trophy at the end of the season, then they're going to constantly ride that roller coaster of, the ups and downs that are part of this experience for everyone, for every team, for every coach. But the coaches who are capable of stepping back, surrendering the outcome a little bit, and focusing on that daily process, right? Like, how can I help my players learn and grow and get better in the areas that are most important to winning? Does that include helping them physically get bigger, faster, and stronger? Of course it does. Does it mean building their sport specific skill? Absolutely. But I think as coaches, we also have to recognize the value of the mental and emotional component of elite athletic performance.
Well, I
and
can
if
tell you
it's not helping our kids reach their potential, then we've got to be willing to dig in and do some of that challenging development work there too.
Well, I can tell you, I mean, John has had a college athlete as a parent and has one. I have one that's going to be, and it's really about connecting with that coach and that culture that they experience when they go on to the next level. I know my daughter's going on to UW Eau Claire to play softball, and she fell in love with the culture. It didn't matter wins and losses. It was all about the relationship that she had within that program, the outreach from the players, and really that relationship and investment from the head coach.
And I think that's so true. When you look at like, if we were all coaching today, would you go, I coached the same way I did 10, 15 years ago? I would bet we would say, no. It doesn't mean I've given up the things I feel that are important, but I've certainly changed with times and how kids need to be coached because I've educated myself, or whatever we all would say. But I think you have to have that relationship part.
Yeah. And obviously, John, like we just talked about how critical it is for an athlete to be committed to learning and improving if they really want to reach their potential. And, that's true, of course, for champions in any area of life, including for coaches, that as coaches, we need to continually, update our software, right? That as we learn and improve ourselves, that our methods and our styles of coaching develop, that we realize there's a better way. And even if it's uncomfortable or inconvenient compared to what we've always done, our commitment to our kids and their development is worth that sacrifice.
So the last one, champion parents. I mean, I go to travel softball and baseball all the time, and there's a lot of champion parents. So what does that look like? Like how does Champions 101 develop that parent who's going to be a champion for that student athlete and coach?
This is the toughest role. You're on the hot seat here.
Yeah, this is the toughest one, man. And I can tell you from experience, like I'm a parent myself. I've got 3 young athletes. And I've struggled through all the challenges that come with being a sports parent. I think, it probably doesn't get the due it deserves for the challenge it creates in this role of life. And I think, in struggling through myself and studying successful sports parenting and in other people who have done it right and not only have helped their children reach their potential, but as we talked about, have tapped into that deeper purpose and really use this experience the right way and help their child prepare and equip themselves for success. Even when their playing days are done, there are a few like specific priorities that jump out to me for every sports parent. Number one is to see the big picture, right? It's so easy as a sports parent to get caught up in what we see right in front of us, the successes or the failures, the ups and the downs. I think the ability to step back and again to commit to that long-term process of growth and development is key. Number 2, I think great sports parents act intentionally, not emotionally. The competitive environment that our kids are competing in can sometimes bring out the inner idiot in us. And if we aren't careful, we can get caught up in that negative emotion. And in doing so, we can make decisions that actually harm our kids and their experience more than it helps them. Number 3, I would say champion sports parents are committed to limiting comparison. You know, it's so easy as a sports parent to get caught up comparing who our kids are compared to everyone else. And, you know, there's a famous quote. I think Teddy Roosevelt said that comparison is the thief of joy, but comparison is also the thief of learning and growing and improving. And, you know, when I get caught up lining my kid up against the kid next to him, almost nothing good can come from it. If my child is better, then it's easy for me and for them to cultivate this sense of arrogance or entitlement, you know, about who we are or what we can do. Right. If my child's worse than the kid next to him, then it's not that hard to cultivate a sense of embarrassment or inferiority about who they are and what they can do. I think great sports parents are committed to helping their child run their own race. You know, kids mature differently. They learn at different rates. Ultimately, those who are committed to the big picture and are focused on helping their child reach their potentials are the ones who do it best.
Well,
go ahead.
No, that's okay. Keep going. I interrupted you.
I got 2 more here. Okay.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
The next one. Champion sports parents are empowered, not victimized. You know, I think one challenge for sports parents, so many elements of the experience exist outside our control, right? Like we sit there in the stands and we have very little control over what our child decides to do or what the coach chooses to do or the calls that the referee makes or what the opponent does or what the fans do or what the parents sitting around us decide to do. And if we aren't careful, we can easily find ourselves victimized by all those uncontrollable circumstances. I think it's so important to recognize that there are some really key components to this experience that we are in charge of, right? We are in charge of our attitude, of our effort, you know, the commitment and the sacrifice we make as parents. We are in charge of our response to whatever it is that we see happening around us. And ultimately, we are in charge of the way that we treat the people in our space. And the more we commit to focusing on the goals, the more empowered we become. And then lastly, number 5, I would say champion sports parents are committed to enjoying the ride. You know, this sports experience is quite a roller coaster filled with all kinds of ups and downs, celebrations and frustrations. And it can be easy, you know, with the huge investment of time and money and energy that we make as parents, it can be easy for this role of life, the sports parent, to feel more like an obligation than it does an opportunity, you know. But I think great sports parents recognize that there's a lot of value in what we're doing here if we use it the right way. And though it's a major commitment, this experience is going to fly by and we're going to miss it when it's gone. So let's work hard to recognize the blessing in it and let's take advantage of it while it's here.
Yeah, those are really, I mean, that, and I think to the point, you know, like John said, we left the last one, you know, is the most difficult one, is to understand we all stumble over our own enthusiasm once in a while, right? It's our kids. We're passionate. It's, you know, we all make mistakes. Coaches make mistakes. Kids make mistakes. Officials make mistakes. We all do, but it's all about, you know, I'm fortunate enough to have played for 2 Hall of Fame coaches, and they've been invited to every event that I've ever had. And that's what it's about. That's what it's about.
Yeah. Yeah. The opportunity here to use what this experience provides to influence who our kids become forever. You know, we should not discount that. And Chris, it's obvious, like those coaches took advantage of that opportunity in their experience with you, and their impact, their influence in your life continues today. That's what sports can do. But in whatever role we play, as an athlete, as a coach, as a parent, we have to make sure we're intentional about what we make it. Because, you know, in today's culture, if we aren't intentional, man, this whole thing can get backwards in a hurry. So, ultimately that's what I hope Champions 101 can provide for people, is a chance to step back and kind of evaluate, what do I want this experience to be? What responsibility do I have to help create the experience that I want? And how can I continue to support, especially for those of us in the role of coach or parent, how can I continue to support my child and to get the most out of this for them, not only in the here and now, but in their life to come too.
So Travis, where can people find more information? And, how can, if I don't know, if I'm watching this podcast and it'll be on the ElkWorks YouTube, so please subscribe. We're going to push this out on all our social media accounts. Where can parents find Champions 101 and Travis Daugherty?
Yeah, well, in terms of like our general messaging, we're on all the social media platforms. We share a lot of content there. And if you just go and search Champions 101, I'm sure you'll be able to track it down. I'm on social at Coach T Daugherty. But specifically at Elkhorn, the partnership that we've created with Elkhorn provides for a number of really valuable resources for people who are in any of those roles. And if you're a parent, I think maybe the easiest way would just be to reach out to the athletic office at Elkhorn High School, ask for access for information on where you can create your account, jump into that virtual training and get to it. It's like the same expectation that we talked about before for any champion in any area of life, is that they're committed to learning and growing and getting better.
And I think that's a great message for all of us.
Yeah.
Right.
So Travis, we always conclude the noon whistle with shout outs and thank yous. We always want to acknowledge the people. So we're going to start off with you. Who do you want to acknowledge or thank right now?
Well, I want to start by thanking you guys for having me here. This has been a super fun opportunity just to share the message of the program. And I also want to really just express my gratitude to John Handel, the athletic director at Elkhorn. He is a superstar leader of that program. And, I know if you're an athlete or a coach or a parent, you may not agree with every decision that the athletic director makes, because the athletic director's job is not to make decisions that please you and you alone. But I will tell you, I have the opportunity to work with athletic directors around the country. And John Handel is in the upper echelon of athletic leaders. So super grateful for him, for his friendship and his partnership with the program and his commitment to the athletes and coaches and parents at Elkhorn and his commitment to serving that community.
Well, John's going to really want me to cut that piece out and share with him specifically. So
Yeah, we can edit, but we're fine.
yeah, we're good. John Anzalone, who do you want to shout out and thank?
You know what? Just because I can, I'm going to shout out, but I'm going to shout out back kind of towards Travis and Champions 101, because having coached and still coaching and been a parent and having kids, and all my kids, some are still in college and some are out of the house, having taken Champions 101 modules, I would say what you have is amazing, and I would encourage all parents, coaches, and athletes to do it. It's very reflective. It's good questions, good thoughts, good information, and it's really valuable. It forces you to kind of look through a different lens. And some of those things, when you're going through it, you're like, I know I was like, oh yeah, I failed on that one a couple of times and had to rethink that. But because if any piece of that cog misses, whether it's the athlete, the coach, or the parent, you can ruin the athletic experience and the love of the game for that athlete. And I think that's why it's so important, because most of us are going to be professional at life. And this teaches not only athletics, but life. And what you do is so valuable. So thank you for doing it.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, and I'm going to give a shout out to the Elkhorn youth football program, because my son, who's 9, who went over there, and there was 130 plus kids from 3 o'clock till 4:30. And he walked out of, it's hot. They're on turf. Those guys did a great job. Todd Galani, Rolando Sanchez, Coach Gayhart, the whole team. My son walked away just feeling really good about the experience and more excited to play football. And those guys were champions yesterday. So Thank you very much. And just to summarize this, everybody, you can reach out to Coach Handel or go to Champions 101 and start the module and go through it as Coach Angelone just referenced. Travis, thanks for joining us. We appreciate your time, and we'll send you this YouTube clip. And on that note, that's another noon whistle.
All right. Thanks so much, Travis. Appreciate it.
Thanks, you guys.